things just like this.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween.
So then we take all the stuff we had already bought and we continue grocery shopping. And things kind of pick up and we're having a nice conversation. And then eventually we take the stuff she had bought and we get in her car and we're driving back to the house. And she calls her sister on speakerphone to inform her of what happened. Her sister then says, "You know you're screwed, right?" And she says, "What do you mean?" She said, "Dad's home right now. If you come home with that girl, Dad's gonna find out." Cause why let me catch a break? Why? Why? Where's the fun in that? So she then has to make the decision about if she's gonna come out to her dad or not. She then kind of has a small spaz attack while she's driving the car. I started to not feel safe being in a car with someone who was having a panic attack while driving. I keep trying to get her to pull over or to call her sister back or one of her friends or something. And she just keeps asking me, "What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "Man, I've never been in this situation before. I can't say that this has suddenly happened to me." And she's like, "This didn't happen to you with your parents?" And I was like, "No, my parents didn't stumble across me on a date with somebody. I voluntarily told both of my parents at a time of my choosing. I don't know what it feels like to be pushed into this, and I'm sorry about that." And I kept saying something like, "Maybe you should just take me home and blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "No, you know, I can't go all the way to Louisville. My dad will see on the tracker." And I'm like, "Okay, find a nearby establishment. Take me there. I will call my mom to come get me, or I'll call my best friend to come get me, or I'll call my cousin, my aunt, somebody, anybody to come get me. You go do this." As the driver, she then makes the executive decision that we're both gonna go to her house and she's gonna come out to her dad.
Can you feel the deep depression inside of me right now?
Cause I can. I then got more upset and couldn't believe our luck of the situation. She isn't really listening to reason. I'm trying to tell her, I'm like, maybe it's too close together. Maybe you should wait until your mom comes home. Wait until your mom comes home. Your mom seemed pretty okay with it considering you made it sound like she wasn't gonna be. Maybe you should wait for your mom to come home. And her mom even texted her and said, "You should probably wait till I come home to tell your dad." Well then, she is under the impression her father is gonna be asleep when she gets home because he went to like a flea market or some before then. And he had apparently, you know, gotten up at like 5 something in the morning and she guessed he would be asleep by then. So she took the groceries in the house and comes back outside to me, who was sitting in the car, and she says, "I'm gonna go and get the keys to my dad's car." And I asked her why. She then comes out to me and I said something about, "What is that weird sound?" And it sounded like this. And she turned off the car completely, took the keys out, and it was still happening. And we realized the car is shaking even though she just pulled the keys out of the ignition. And I hastily get out of the car after she says, "Get out of the car." And I run around the car and I see that there's a fluid dripping from underneath of the car. I, of course, can't believe our luck because now I'm stuck at her house. And she is like, "Okay, I'm gonna go and get the keys to my dad's car. He's probably asleep right now. I'll go get the keys and I'll take you home." And I'm like, "Cool, I'm gonna go home. Bye." And I told her, I'm like, "Look, if you need someone to come get me, I will call somebody. You know, I have friends. I'll call my friends." And she's like, "No, I should take you home." I wanted to die. So she goes inside and she tells me she's gonna get the keys and to just stay in the garage because she doesn't know what the car's doing. So I'm pacing around and pacing and pacing for a violently long amount of time. I mean, like a good 30 minutes I'm pacing this person's garage. And then Amanda's dog just keeps barking at me from this cage. And I'm 100% sure he was going to jump out at me had I given him a chance. So I text her and I'm like, "Hey, it's really hot out here. I'm really scared because I don't know this area. Can you maybe come back outside?" And then she doesn't text for a long time. And then she texts me like another 10-15 minutes later and says, "Hold on. Everything went south." I was under the impression she was just putting away the groceries and grabbing a pair of keys and that he was going to be asleep on the couch. Unbeknownst to me, inside of the house, he was not asleep on the couch. He was wide awake in his bedroom where the keys were. Of course he was. I'm not going to give intimate details of the situation that happened between her and her father and that later included her sister because they're not mine to tell, and that would be really crappy of me to divulge really personal details of this encounter that I was not actually a part of. The situation with the mother I was a part of, and it was stuff that was happening in front of my eyes, and I am allowed to tell that, but I'm not allowed to just freely give what happened between her and her father away to the public. She then eventually comes back out and informs me essentially what I can't actually tell you exactly what she told me because it was the details of everything that happened, but for your sake, essentially what she told me is that her dad knows that I'm there, and he knows who I am, and he's coming outside to check the car to see what's wrong with it. I start to have a panic attack because, again, I'm a very anxious jelly bean, and I'm very uncomfortable, and I'm very, very scared, and then he comes outside and he's ignoring my existence, weird enough. I'm, by the way, gonna flat out apologize for every video now, past, and future that I'm constantly like looking away when I'm talking, and I'm like talking over here. I do that because I have trouble making eye contact with this thing because it's so bright and it hurts. But he's just kind of ignoring the fact that I'm even there and is just talking about the car. And I'm standing there in very sweltering heat, and then her sister comes outside and they're walking the dogs around this tree, and I'm just standing there very clearly wanting to just explode. And it's a very, very long time of him checking the car and talking to her about the car before he ever really acknowledges that I'm there. And then eventually they kind of wave hi at me, and I just kind of wasn't here for it. And eventually I get in the car so we can leave, and he says not to come back into my city. She lived in a neighboring city. It was like a small town. He said not to come into my city, that we were to stay in that small town. Again, I thought it was kind of weird, but he said it was for the car, not her. So he then kind of leaned into the car and went, you gonna tell us who she is, by the way? And then she proceeded to say the exact same thing that she said to her mother, which didn't fare very well with me again, because then as soon as they walked away from the car, she then informed me she had lied to them and said that we met on Twitter instead of Tinder because her family would never understand dating apps, and she said that would be our story forever. She said even if her exact words were, one day at our wedding we are still going to go with the story of we met on Twitter. I, first of all, didn't like the fact she made it sound like we were a done deal and we were getting married. Second of all, I don't like the fact that we were first lying about my existence and now we're lying about how we met. I have issues with this kind of stuff. She knows that, yet she's doing this. If you can tell the truth about the fact that I am a girl that you are low-key interested in eventually potentially dating, you can tell them we met on a dating app. Don't divulge the name of the dating app if you don't want them to think it's Tinder, because I know Tinder gets a bad rap. I honestly think Tinder is not as bad as people think it is, but that could just be because I'm only dealing with girls on Tinder. I hear guys on Tinder are a lot worse from my friends who are straight, but I just was again really bothered and I was really uncomfortable. We then decide we're gonna go and we're gonna get something to eat. We were discussing, you know, like fast food chains to go to, you know, like McDonald's and Taco Bell and such. And we got to talking and the conversation just kind of continued, and I thought she knew where we were going. And then suddenly she looked up and went, "Oh, crap." And I went, "Crap what?" And she said, "I don't know where we are." I 100% knew instantly where we were. There is a very specific part of the city that I live in. It's not downtown, but it's next to downtown. It's a very artsy and eclectic part of town. There's a lot of very weird stuff down there. Like on the same street, you can find a hookah bar, a Celtic shop, a like sports store, a comic book store, a guitar shop, hairdressers, you know, like a store that all they do is sell like paintings. Like it's a very, very eclectic and artsy part of town. It's where a lot of the art students at the college live. It's mainly an area populated by people under the age of 35. And it's just a very young and eclectic kind of party hipster part of town. And I was just like, oh my God, we're in this part of the city, which was 40 minutes away from where we were supposed to be. Turns out we were in the car talking for 40 minutes. We were 40 minutes away from where her father told us to be. Again, I was 21 at this time and I was not used to doing what other people's parents told me anymore. So by this point, we're trying to figure out how to get out of this part of town. Instead of driving out of X part of town, she gets lost. I knew we were lost because we found an Irish pub that I know specifically because it's next to a store that I really love. And we passed up that part of town and then we ended up all the way in downtown because there's like 3 or 4 giant hospitals in a row. And we passed all of them and next thing I knew, we were on a road leading us out of my city to a whole nother city. So then we both of course panic and we are trying to track back on GPS and the GPS hates us. So it then takes us like another 40 some odd minutes to get somewhere and we were starving. So she decided she's gonna take me to an IHOP because, no, it wasn't an IHOP, it was a Waffle House. Yeah, it was a Waffle House. Because I brought up to her at some point during our 40-minute conversation where we got lost that I had never in my life been to an IHOP or a Waffle House, ever. She told me she knew where a Waffle House was, but that it was near her house. So we then went all the way back, at this point like another hour of my day, trying to get back to this Waffle House where the food was not that great. I mean, Waffle House is probably, you know, just really great, but I'm pretty sure this lady burnt my waffles beyond all comprehension. And we had this very long conversation that was 100% just about former relationships, which was very weird, but she was wanting to be open and honest with me, and I'm very, very into honest vulnerability, so we were doing the honest conversation thing, and eventually she kept trying to talk me into going to a movie with her. Eventually everything got derailed because my cousin was actually here at my house and I was supposed to get home on time to her, and I was actually quite thankful that she was here, that way that I had the excuse of, hey, I really have to go home now. And I was just thanking God because I just really wanted to come home. Well, at that point, I already spent about 7 hours with this human being when it was supposed to be like a 45-minute Walmart shopping trip. And I finally get home and I'm texting with her and she's expressing to me how much she likes me. And then it hurts to say it. Like, I want to cover my alpaca's ears. She asks me over text after we've been in the same place one time, will you be my girlfriend? I said no. I was not excited by the notion at all. I was not comfortable with the notion at all. I told her I felt like we were going a little bit too fast and that I wanted to spend more time getting to know her because I just felt weird. And ever since she asked me to be her girlfriend, it just felt so wrong and so fucking weird. And I tried to listen to my instincts because a couple days later I was trying to explain to her I was really uncomfortable and I felt kind of sick about the whole thing and I didn't want to have this relationship anymore. Whatever it was, I didn't want it anymore. But then, because I'm a really anxious person who feels bad when she hurts people, I tried to be friends with her again because she said she missed me. And I was like, okay, we can try to take things slow, but what you need to understand is I need things violently slow. And I told her that was why I had tried to stop even the friendship in its tracks, because I felt like she didn't understand my boundaries and it made me feel really sick and gross and kind of a little bit violated and uncomfortable. And I just really didn't want to deal with the situation because in my heart of hearts I knew something bad was going to happen. But I again am the stupidest person in the world and I give way too many chances to people who don't deserve them and who don't deserve me. And I did it again and I gave her another chance. And we again made plans to hang out on another Saturday. It was the exact next Saturday. And all of Friday she just didn't answer me. And at this point in time I wish I had taken that as a clue of just never talking to her again. Because I honestly, she put me through so much stuff and made me so uncomfortable that I just didn't, it wasn't worth it at that point. And I told her flat out, hey, if something's wrong, I need you to tell me. She didn't answer me all Friday, and then Saturday came and I'm like, hey, are you not wanting to hang out anymore today? And she still didn't answer me. And then up until the time we were supposed to hang out, because she was supposed to pick me up at my house, I said, look, you're not answering me and I'm not playing this game with you again. I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. Still nothing. So my best friend came to pick me up and she took me to her sister's house because her sister was having a party. And it was just, I think it was one of those, she was just having a barbecue for no reason. I don't think it was actually for something. But I remember, you know, her sister was there and her sister's husband, her sister's half-brother, who's like the cutest little gay boy in the entire world, and a bunch of her friends and then their family, and just like a bunch of people that I've been around before and that I really liked. And, you know, my best friend's dad was there, and you know, everybody brought their babies. And so all the nieces and nephews were there, and I became quite close to this family quite quickly. And I considered them family, and I was having a really good time. And for the first time since this whole debacle with Amanda had started, I felt happy. I felt normal. And she then texted me this very long text message while I was sitting and talking to my friend's brother about Kesha's new album, because he and I just couldn't get over the song Praying, and we still send Snapchats to each other about it. Like, I don't think I'll ever be over it. I'm sorry if you hear any creaking, that's my bed. Very old bed. I'm in the middle of having this conversation with him, and I'm, you know, we're watching Disney movies with the kids, and, you know, we're all eating burgers and hanging out and joking around and talking, and I felt genuinely normal and happy. And then she sent me this really long text message, which, to sum it up because I don't remember it, essentially said she was ignoring me on purpose because she believed I wasn't serious about our relationship. It was not a relationship, which was something that she did not seem to grasp onto. She did not seem to grasp onto the fact we were talking. We hadn't been on a real date. We had a 7-hour escapade of bull that was fueled by bad timing and my inability to say no. And she was just bringing up all this shit and making it sound like it was all my fault. She was like, well, you suddenly dropped off the face of the planet and said that you didn't want to be in it with me anymore and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I didn't drop off the face of the planet. I had a conversation with you about the fact that you made me feel uncomfortable, that you put me in a situation that made me feel like something my ex-girlfriend would do to me because you weren't respecting my boundaries, and you put me in a harmful and stressful situation, and I told you I would try again. I was giving her chances I did not owe her. And then she said something, I can't remember her exact wording, but basically what she said was, I need you to promise you're gonna be my girlfriend soon or this is over. Do not ultimatum me. Do not ever ultimatum me. I was so done. I was close to tears because I am that person that when someone is doing something wrong to me, I will blame myself for it. That's something that a lot of people who have been in abusive relationships do. They learn by habit of something that their partner has said to them that they're the reason something's going wrong, which my ex used to do to me. And I naturally blamed myself, and I'm like, this is my fault, this is my fault. I don't know what I did to her, I don't know what I did to her. And I kept trying to call her, and she had shut her phone off, and she had logged out of her Facebook, and was not answering me on Twitter or Instagram. I started to get real crazy mad at this point. Do not threaten me with, or I will walk out of your life. I will be gone. This will be over. I was living and breathing long before you got here. I will be living and breathing long after your walks the out. So I got real mad and I called her repeatedly. And I kept saying, turn your phone on. Turn your phone on. Turn your phone on right now. Do not say this kind of to me and then not turn your phone on. And I was getting so angry. Every time I called her phone, it would go straight to voicemail. And every single time I would leave this really, really long voice message, and they were progressively changing in mood. They started off as, I don't know what you want from me. I told you I wanted to take things slow. You didn't seem to be backing up. So I told you that I didn't want anything to do with you anymore. And then when you were texting me telling me that you missed me, I tried to give it another go because we had some level of connection where I thought we could be friends. And then you continued to disrespect the slow, and you told me flat out, be my girlfriend or I'm out. And it kind of led to me yelling until eventually her voice machine cut me off and told me I was out of time. So then a second time rolls around and I try to leave another message. It does the exact same thing, except this set of rambling was centered around me being really upset and being like, I can't believe you would say this to me. You know what I've been through. You know what my ex did to me. You know the kind of things she would say and do to me. I can't believe you would say and do the same kind of stuff to me. You know she would throw ultimatums at me. You know she would say threatening things to me. I can't believe you would do this. And in the midst of this brouhaha where I just kept saying, I can't believe you would do this, that, and the other thing, it cut me out again. Hung up, tried to call back again. Phone was still off. And I'm mad even just thinking about it again. I then leave another string long message where I'm expressing to her that I don't think this is fair, that I did not do anything wrong to her, and that I couldn't believe this was happening. And I was rambling again, and then eventually the message cut me off. Fourth time leaving a message, and I admit my wrongs, and I'm like, look, I understand that you are upset because I suddenly said that I didn't want to be involved in whatever this was anymore. I said, but you need to also accept the fact that what you did to me made me very uncomfortable, and you weren't respecting my boundaries when I made it very clear to you I had issues that made it so that I had to take any kind of potential eventual romantic relationship violently slow. And now you're making me feel bad about it. I said, I accept the fact that I upset you, but you need to also accept the fact that you upset me. I hung up because it did not go through again and it cut me off. I call back a third time and it goes straight to voicemail again. The fifth message that I left was kind of a convoluted repeat of everything from the first 4 messages. It cut me off again. The sixth message was again a convoluted mashup of everything. Of me crying at the end of this driveway while pacing on the phone in the middle of the day on a Saturday, losing my mind. And it was a big combination of crying and screaming. And it cut me off again, so I hung up. And I stood there for a long while just thinking. And I had this moment where I looked up at the front window of my friend's house and time stopped. 'Cause inside there was my best friend and her sister's half-brother dancing around to what I'm pretty sure was a song from Moana with their niece and their nephew. And on the couch, you could see their sister laughing and drinking wine, and her husband was in the back doing some weird dance, and you could see their parents on the couch laughing, and I felt a weird embodiment of my life. It was what it always was. It was me on the other side of something, because I allowed myself to be subject to a situation that made me uncomfortable, because I thought more about someone else's feelings than about my own, and I allowed her comfort and her happiness to outshine my own. And I watched all my friends dancing and laughing and singing and being happy on a Saturday at a party, like you should be. And I called her back one last time, and it went straight to voicemail again. And I was very calm, and I'd stopped crying by this point. And I said something along the lines of, I understand that you're upset with me, and I'm adult enough to realize that you are entitled to your opinions, both about how I have acted and how you have acted, which I'm sure are very, very different from what I am thinking. And that's okay, because we're adults, and adults clash, because that's how people work. That's how people are built. They are built to fight with each other sometimes. It was at this point that I looked back up at the house, and things kind of started speeding back up. They weren't really in slow motion in my head anymore. And I had kind of stopped crying. And I felt my stomach that had knotted up start to release a little. And I had paused, and I said into the phone, I spent a very long time in a relationship with somebody who made me feel like I didn't have the choice of fighting for myself and my own happiness and my right to live my life the way that I saw fit. And I said, don't make me make the choice between your comfort and my comfort. And I said, because for the first time in my life, I'm gonna win that battle, because I've spent so long picking other people's comfort and other people's opinions and other people's happiness over my own, because I believed so little of myself. I thought that I was garbage. I thought I was absolutely nothing, because someone who's not even in my life anymore, who wasn't even a very good person and who did bad things to me, made me think I was garbage. What does it matter what she ever said to me? Because obviously it was BS so that she could control me, and it worked. And I shouldn't give her the power to keep doing so when she's not even in my life anymore. And I said that, and I took a deep breath, and I said, do not make me choose between me and you, because you will lose. And I told her we clearly weren't seeing eye to eye on the situation, that I cared about her but I couldn't do it, and that I was done. I told her to unfriend me on Facebook, unfollow me on all social media, and that I didn't want to talk to her again because clearly we had very different views on our lives. I went back in the house, and I actually followed everybody out into the backyard where the kids started dancing to Moana music on their mom's phone. And she texted me back and said, well, I guess that's the end of that. Hope you got what you wanted. Bye. Just a very bitter and upset message. And I didn't respond, and I felt happy. And I danced with Moana music in the background with a tiny 2-year-old as my dancing partner. She actually texted me about a month and a half ago, I think it was, trying to apologize to me about how she wasn't there for me when I was trying to become a better person and when I was trying to better myself and work on my self-image and all that. And I never texted her back because I realized that the situation she put me in lit a fire under my ass. Because of her, I went and I got the job I currently have now. And at the job I currently have now, I made a lot of friends, and it's helped me come out of my shell a lot, and it's helping me with my anxiety and to pay my bills. I'm not sorry it happened because it lit a fire under me enough to where it got me to a point where I see people on a regular basis. I made some new friends, and that has presented me with more opportunities. So I guess the moral of the story is don't ever let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do. Don't ever let anybody make you feel like you have to bend to their will simply because their life doesn't match up with yours. Don't let anybody push you into things because they're giving you ultimatums. Don't let anybody make you do something that you don't want to do just because it's something that they want. Don't be friends with somebody just because they say so. Don't do something a partner tells you to do just because they're your partner and you think you're supposed to listen to them. You are a human being. You have the right to control your own life, to choose where you go and what you do and why you do the things you do and how you do them. You choose who you're in a relationship with if that's what you want to do. You choose who your friends are. You choose what career path you pursue. You choose how you look. You choose how you express yourself. You choose when and if you plan to do something in your life. It is your choice to better yourself. It is your choice to have a certain job or dye your hair a certain color or get a million tattoos or pierce your face or chop off all your hair or get a new car or get a new job or move to a new city or whatever it is you want to do. Don't let what anybody says ever in this world ever control what you do but you. Not your parents, not your friends, not your partner, nobody but you. You're in charge of you. I know that story was incredibly long and had a lot of really weird twists and turns. And I know it kind of ended on a really serious note. And I almost considered not putting it up because I know that there were a lot of parts of it that kind of made me look bad. But I take full responsibility for my part in the epic disaster that was that summer. And I guess what I can really say is that my reason for putting this up is a story of learning to not let what other people tell you contribute to how you actually live your life. If I had let her continue to tell me what to do and how to live my life based on when she wanted to date me, I would have cried myself out of just sanity that entire party and never would have had any fun with any of my friends. I would have ended up dating somebody that I didn't actually want to be with. I'm sorry if I'm suddenly in a different position. I thought that the camera stopped recording. This is what I get for filming on an iPhone. But basically what I'm trying to say is that my reason for filming this video was to empower anybody who's watching, who's been in a similar situation or is in one now, realize that they don't ever have to do anything that they don't want to do. I've struggled with that my entire life, with other people trying to make me do things that I wasn't comfortable with. Don't ever let anybody make you do something. No one can make you do anything. I don't know what other kind of story times may or may not go on this channel. I know that I said something in my last story time video about telling the second part of the how I got my first kiss story, which led to my first date with a girl story. And I will eventually tell that. I just didn't want that to be the next story time that I told. I wanted to give it some time to brew, so I thought I would tell this one. I have a couple more stories up my sleeve, and I have a lot of new video ideas. So yeah, if you guys aren't already subscribed, please join the family. My name is Lilith. I'm a very weird human being, if I'm even human. So please, ladies and germs of non-specific identities, hit subscribe, hit like, share with your friends, and comment your thoughts below. If you've ever been in a situation like this, or if this video helped you at all, please tell me in the comments below. Alpaca of Doom.